welcome to my journey into the media world. I'm delighted to say, and I think it's fair to say, that this is the furthest distance I'm ever going to interview someone over Zoom. Delighted to say that I'm joined by Mark Bosnich, the former Aston Villa goalkeeper and, of course, current Fox Sports presenter. Just very briefly, the next season was, some say would say it's very disappointing. You narrowly escaped relegation.
Yeah.
Could you put your finger on why the tables had turned so much since the last season?
You know, it's a great question you asked, Jude, and I thought about this a lot. And the funny thing is, here in Australian football, there's a lot of debate about development of players and so forth and whatnot. And recently, they've announced a panel of ex-players, including myself, six guys and 5 women who have played as well, to try to, give their benefit of their playing experiences so they can help produce more players like we used to here in Australia. So this is how this relates to the story, because I actually said to them, look, I'll do anything I can to help anyone, especially Australian football. But I did say my playing experiences were very limited in the fact that since the age of 13, I always played for teams. I said, with the exception of one season, which I'm going to get back to, but I always played for teams and clubs that were in the mix for trophies or near the top end of the table. I said, with the exception of one season, that was 94-95 at Aston Villa, where I really struggled because the team really struggled. I'd never experienced that before in my life. And when I look back, it was, coming off the back of the League Cup, it was, like I said, it was a, fantastic time in that. But I look back and I think, well, maybe, even though we finished, I think it was 10th, that was the season before, there were a few signs that maybe we need to improve the squad. I think pre-season hadn't been as hard maybe as it was the season before as well. So then we suffered a couple of injuries early on, and I always remember as well, and this is how, there's a very fine line when you get to the very top level between success and a season like that.
Yeah.
The first 4 games, I think, right? We had Everton away, we drew 2-2. Then we had, I think it was Southampton on the Wednesday at home, winning 1-0 to the last minute. Letizia hits a screamer, 1-1. Crystal Palace on the Saturday, winning 1-0 to the last minute. They get a scrappy equaliser. Then we beat, I think, Coventry on the Monday. But really, in those 3 draws that we had, 2 of them should have been wins, no doubt about that. And you think to yourself, well, instead of sort of having, 5 points it was after the opening 4 games, you would have been sitting on 9 points in probably first or second. And it makes a very big difference to the way you get your season started off. And it just seemed to go from bad to worse. Little things that were going for us literally, a couple of months ago didn't start going. But the real things, like I said to you, I actually think that 2 things, and, Ron, I think, tried to do it, but they just couldn't get the players at the time, for whatever reason, was maybe the strengthening of the squad when we had won a trophy. And also, like I said, the pre-season, from my experience in professional football, not only has it got to be hard, but it's got to be, it's got to be done well. Yeah. And when that's not the case, you seem to always be playing catch up, and it does catch up with you, whether it's because of travel or this or that or whatever it may be. So those are the 2 things that I would probably look back on. But it was highly disappointing because a manager that I loved and gave me my real opportunity and won us a trophy, literally, 6 months later, I think it was November. Yeah. So that was from March. So that was April, May, June, July, August, September, October. That's it. Well, 8 months later, got the sack. And I know the manager is the one who gets the bullet in the end, but the bottom line is it was the players' fault because we should never have been in that position. Brian Little came in. It brought with him Alan Evans, ex-player at the club, and John Gregory. They're all ex-players at the club, obviously. Lovely, lovely man, and ended up turning out to be a super manager as well. But that time it was very, very difficult because he was trying to bring players in. Confidence was low. Some players were going out. It was very difficult. In the end, I remember we had to, I think it was, beat Liverpool at home. It went to that with about 2 games to go to make sure. And we did do that. So that kind of made sure. But it was a terrible experience and one that, when people say, oh, sometimes it's good if you experience a near miss, like something like that. Yeah. No, I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. I don't want to experience anything like that again. It was terrible.
You mentioned there about, Atkinson being sacked and then Brian Little coming in and bringing in a lot of new faces. My next question to you was, What was that like for you, having to break in with all the brand new faces?
For me personally, it was okay. I'm like, as you can see, I mean, I've never met you before, but well, I think I'm good with people anyway. I try to, treat them as I expect to be treated, and try to be as empathetic as I possibly can. But that situation for me, my head hadn't gone,
Yeah,
but I'd never experienced something like that in football. I was sort of, 21, 22 years of age, and sort of, my manager, my boss, who have been, done so well for me, and I had, it gave me another chance in English football after I had to go back to Australia, had been sacked literally, like I said to you, 8 months after winning a trophy. So, and I remember Brian Little recognising that, to be fair to him. He said, look, I'm going to leave you out for a while because I don't think your head's right. And he was exactly right,
yeah,
100% right. Bringing in new faces and all that, like I said to you, is never a problem for me. It's always sad to see people go and all that, but the underlying factor for me is that we should never have got to that situation. Just felt as though that we'd let ourselves and like I said, the previous manager down big style. But slowly but surely, time wounds. Time heals rather a lot of wounds, and
yeah,
we come back for the following pre-season. Pretty much of all the new faces in bar one in Savo Milosevic, who joined us during that pre-season. It was a very, very rigorous and hard pre-season. And we got off to a fabulous start and ended up having one of the best seasons that I've ever had in football, full stop, let alone Aston Villa.
yeah. Well, I can talk about that next season. Of course, it was very successful, and you said there yourself that it was one of your best seasons at Villa.
Mm.
Just talk us through again another turn in momentum for the following season.
Yeah, what I said to you before about the season before, about how we could have had 9 points from the opening start. Well, this
Yeah,
time we had Man United first game, and although they just missed out in the championship to Blackburn the year before, they're still a formidable outfit. But first game at home, and we were phenomenal. We raced to a 3-0 lead. They did come back very strong in the second half, and they got a consolation right towards the end. I think David Beckham hit
yeah,
one off the back of Gareth Southgate's backside, and it dipped in. But it was a great start. We went to Tottenham and won. I think we may have lost to Leeds, but then we won again at home. So this time we had the 9 points from 12, and we basically took it from there. Very, very good side, very good mixture of experience, Andy Townsend, and youth, and sort of in the players in between, like your Gareth Southgate, so I just mentioned, Steve Staunton coming back, Savo Milosevic, who was developing a wonderful partnership with Dwight York, who was going to
yeah,
have, Dwight York was about to have the equivalent of my breakthrough season two seasons ago. Ian Taylor, Mark Draper, the list goes on, Gary Charles, Ian Wright, who were both very important, especially to the way that we played.
yeah,
And squad player Tommy Johnson, people like that who were absolutely fantastic when they came in, and it was a really wonderful effort. We had a couple of moments where we sort of, I think that was important during the season, where we sort of lost games. Maybe we sort of thought we could have won. I remember once Liverpool at home 2-0, where they could have went either way. But the
yeah,
important thing was we came back. Then the following week, or I think it was on the following weekend, we beat Leeds at home, and we also always used to come back. Winning the League Cup was great. The week later, unfortunately, we got knocked out of the FA Cup. But then we picked ourselves up again, and like I said, and got fourth. And it was a phenomenal season, really, from start to finish. And there were so many good things to talk about. Paul McGrath, like I said to you before, who was fantastic as well. It was
yeah.
just a really, really good season, and very fortunate for me. And really, it was very early in my career. I really got picked up 2 major medals, which was absolutely fantastic.
What would you say felt more better, the first League Cup final or the 1v Leeds United?
Oh, I think both felt fantastic. But if you want to go and, one that, like you said, maybe felt just a little bit more. Your first one's always very, very important. Your first trophy in anything.
Yeah,
So, and the fact that when you're underdogs, you don't expect it. It kind of makes it a little bit sweeter. This
yeah,
time the roles have changed. This time we're favourites, and rightly so. We'd overcome Arsenal in the semi-finals. That was a really hard 2 legs. Dwight York scored 2 fantastic goals at Highbury after us being 2-0 down. In the second leg at Villa Park, it was 0-0. I've never seen a crowd after extra time 0-0. So I've never seen a crowd celebrate a 0-0 like that in my life,
yeah,
especially. And then we come up against, like I said, a Leeds United side who really, were a decent side, but very beatable, put it that way. And funny enough, Leeds had beaten us earlier on in the season as well during that wonderful start that we had, the only team that
yeah,
we lost to. was Leeds United, and we pulverised them 3-0. It was a walkover, really.
Yeah.
But it was still no less special than the last one. Not at all. It's just that from a personal perspective, I'm sure if you asked others, they would have a different answer. First trophy is always your first trophy.
And now you obviously moved from Villa to Manchester United. Was it a tough decision to leave Villa when you did?
Very, very tough because I love that place. I love the people. The club have been very good to me. No doubt about that. But I just felt as though that, I probably, like I said, I'd stayed long enough, and I felt as though I was coming towards the peak, and I wanted to win more trophies. And that was really the bottom line. There was, money wouldn't have been a problem as I was coming towards the end of my contract. The late deadly Doug Ellis, he always said if you ever wanted you to come to him, and then I told him, I remember telling him and John Gregory, who was there at the time, it's not about money. I just want to go and I want to win the Premier League title and hopefully try to win something else. But that was my main ambition, and I fulfilled it. A lot of people say to me, you shouldn't have left Aston Villa. That may be right, but I just wanted to win trophies, and I won 2 in that season when I was basically there when I played. I mean, I was there for about a season and a half, but the season that I played, we won 2 trophies, and one that I always wanted to win, which is the Premier League, and one that was an absolute bonus in the World Club Championship, which was a trophy that was known back then as the Intercontinental that no British team had won before. So that was very, very special and very, very dear.
Very finally, Mark, people might not know that over in Australia now you're working with Fox Sports, which is the equivalent of Sky Sports in the UK. What's it like swapping between the sticks for the reporting studio?
Well, I feel very, very lucky, Jude, because I did something for a long time that I love very, very much. And there's no replacing that. And now I'm talking about something that I love very, very much. And it's been a little bit more difficult the last 3 years because Fox Sports, the company over here, lost the Premier League rights. So we've only just been doing it a little bit. So that's been a little bit more difficult because, the Premier League's everything for me. I made my bones and everything in the Premier League. And I used to buzz off that every week, looking forward to the games and teams and so forth. We only just do a minuscule amount in comparison to what we did, but we still do the local league, and they've got me doing other sports as well. So I just feel very, very fortunate. It was very difficult at the start because you try to fit in a balance, but they used to always just tell me, look, they say, just be you. And I used to say, well, what do you mean be me? And I say, ask questions and be truthful. So I said, okay. So I just, when in doubt, I just stick to that.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've picked up as well, especially with football, I think you've always got to empathise with the fact that, remember that player you're talking about, that was you one day. And remember, how much you used to look up to an Alan Hansen or Andy Gray talking about you, or, people of that type of ilk. Well, these young players are now looking up to you like that. They've got families, they've got friends. So even if it has to be criticism, which it happens, as we know, just to make sure it's a constructive one, and it's more of like, this is what I can see, because we can all see problems, but this is what I can see as the solution. And this is what I think this man can do, or this young lad can do. I think it's very, very important to do that because it's so easy to destroy things. This table I'm leaning on probably took about 3 weeks to build, but I could smash it now with one fell swoop like that. Yeah. And I think that's important to just to understand that. And people go through bad times, and you're not always aware of all the facts. You don't know what's going on in somebody's life off the park as well. So I think it's always best to bear that in the back of one's mind before you start it's easy just to turn around and go, oh, you know what, Jude, you're not sitting directly in the middle of the chair. You might go, yeah, but because, you know what I mean? So rather than just being like that, you turn around and go, oh, look, listen, maybe you're sitting like that because I'm at this angle, and that's why you have to sit like that for me to be straight. Yeah? Yeah. I'm only saying that hypothetically, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Moving like that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give a hypothetical example of that's what I always think to myself before I start firing bullets or this, that, and the other. So we just always think and give people an opportunity as well, because things don't happen overnight. Some people can do things straight away. Some people it takes a little bit more longer. That's all.
Yeah, I'm definitely learning that in terms of my media career, and I can definitely relate to you in terms of doing something you love. I just love talking about football, so to be able to do that and obviously get involved with something I love is another way for me to get involved. Mark, it's been a pleasure to be able to have a chat with you about all things Aston Villa and, of course, Fox Sports. Thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with me. And thank you so much, and stay safe. Keep well.
Jude, stay safe, stay in touch. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been a real honor, and I really mean that. And your love of football, and when you talk about it, the love of football really comes out. You've done a fantastic job.
Thank you. Guys, it's been fascinating to get an insight into Mark Bosnich's career. As an Aston Villa fan, it's been a pleasure to look back on those days. Although it's before my time, it's always good to look back on someone else's career and compare how it's different to life now, what life is like now in football. If you like the video, leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're brand new, and don't forget to turn on your post notifications. Well, until next time, goodbye and up the Villa.
Hit the subscribe button and follow my journey to the media world. Click the video choices on screen to see more of my work.